If you enjoy the content on this channel and would like to help me out with the production of more content for this channel, then please consider supporting me on Patreon, link in the description down below. Hello everybody, this is SeetherCord, and welcome to another installment of my SeetherTalks series here on YouTube. For today's episode of SeetherTalks, we are going to be talking about movies, because I'm clearly a Roger Ebert or Chris Stuckman. And we're not just going to be talking about movies, we're going to be talking about films that can relate to the furry fandom, and people have done a lot of videos on that. People have done videos about the best kind of furry films that are out there and all, but most of them tend to be kind of classic, older Disney films of hand-drawn animation. Like people say like, oh, I love The Lion King, it's an amazing movie. It is an amazing movie. It's a great furry film, but I want to talk about more modern day furry films, which I don't feel like people really discuss as much. And I will be talking about 3 of those today. One of them has been talked about tons and tons and tons of times, but the other 2 are kind of more underground. So we'll start off with the really well-known one, and then we'll go into the 2 underground ones. I will let you guys know that I'm not a professional filmmaker. I'm not a professional critic of films. I like to work with film casually, and I do like a movie from time to time, but I'm not like a professional film critic, so excuse me if like some of my opinions or ways of like reviewing these films is kind of off. So we're going to be talking about 3 modern day furry films that I feel like really represent the community greatly and are a good watch for you guys to see if you're a furry. Now, to qualify as a modern day furry film, to me at least, it has to be made within the last 15 to 20 years. It has to involve anthropomorphizing animals in some way, shape, or form, be it human-like walking animals or feral animals that talk. Just, you gotta have some way of humanizing them. Now, the first of 3 films that I will be talking about in the modern day furry films is one that everyone talks about. It's so freaking obvious. Zootopia. I will first flat out start saying that I do feel like the film is very overrated, not just in the furry community, but just in the general public as well. It's a great movie, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like a lot of people are holding it as one of the best films ever made or one of the best animated films ever made. Personally, I don't see that. I just feel like it's a great movie of its time. But I will get into the great things about this movie now. The world building in Zootopia is amazing. The visuals are great. The character dynamics between Nick and Judy are absolutely amazing. And I also really love the film's message of accepting and looking past our differences to help us form a good society. And I think that's very heavy for a family film, and I feel like the film did it very well, and it gives a lot of respect in my book for its message. So overall, it is an overrated movie, but I do feel like it's a very respectful movie of this time, and you should definitely give it a watch if you haven't already, like every furry in the freaking fandom. And now with that movie out of the way, we're going to get into the 2 films that I am very passionate about to talk about on this channel today. And these 2 films are animated, they are made with stop motion, and they are both directed by the same person. The first film of these 2 is known as The Fantastic Mr. Fox. The film focuses on a fox who becomes a father, and he yearns for his older days of what he used to love to do for his career, but he had to change it to help support his family. He's a father that's struggling to find himself and accepting the fact that he's moving on with an older stage of his life nearing its end, and learning to come to terms with the fact that he can't always get the way he wants in life. But he's okay with it because of the fact that he's with the ones that he loves. Another side plot in the movie that means a lot is that he has a son who's born really short and not as physically capable as most other people his age. And due to that, he becomes very angry, but over the film he does learn to accept the fact that he's different and use his other strengths to show how important he is as everyone else is. And I feel like these messages are very deep for a movie that's aimed at children and families. Now, besides deep characters, another thing I love about this movie is its humor. It's quick, it's smart, it's deadpan, and it's extremely fast-paced, and I love it. And one final thing that I really respect about this film, which also goes into the second film of this film directed by Wes Anderson, is its visuals. I really respect and appreciate stop motion due to how much time and effort it takes to make it work. And I love how they just use all of these regular everyday materials to put into a stop motion film. And overall, it's honestly a masterpiece. So if you ever get the time, please consider watching this film because it's definitely worth your time if you enjoy animation, cutthroat humor, and very deep characters. And now the final film I'm going to be going into today is a film that was made just recently. And now the final film we're going to be going into today, which is a film that was also made by Wes Anderson, came out just recently. And that film is known as Isle of Dogs. The film takes place in Japan 20 years in the future, where a mild diseased dog outbreak spreads around the entire country of Japan. And out of fear and panic, the mayor decides to banish all dogs to a deserted trash island. After 1 year of all the dogs being exiled to the island, the mayor's nephew steals a fighter jet plane and crashes on the island looking for his lost dog Spots that was also banished there. While he crash lands there, he meets a pack of 5 wild dogs who help him on his way to find his lost dog Spots. And meanwhile, throughout the film, also back in Japan, a lot of human characters try to focus on getting dogs back into the country and having them not banished anymore, which makes it a very political-like film as well. Now, to go back into the visuals, this film also does stop motion like Fantastic Mr. Fox, but after 10 years of wait since the next film, the stop motion is even better. All the dog's fur flows consistently throughout the whole movie, and it looks so well and nice. One thing that makes this film a little bit different from Fantastic Mr. Fox is this film is more PG. Another thing that makes this film a little different from Fantastic Mr. Fox is it's not as funny, even though there is some deadpan humor in it. It mostly is serious. And I also believe I read somewhere that about half of the people that saw this movie were adults. So it's a good representation about how all animation is not just for children. And when it goes back to the story in this film is so great and very emotional, and it really tugs at your heartstrings if you ever have any experience with losing a pet or having any real connection with one. I've seen this movie twice in the past week, and I might see it a third time if I get the chance. With only a few minor issues of a forced romance subplot in this film, as well as some problem with translating the Japanese dialogue to English, overall I feel like this film is a masterpiece and is probably Wes Anderson's best film to date, and I do believe that this is the best animated film of 2018 so far. So I would highly recommend, if you're a fan of stop motion, animation, furries, or anything, please go see this film. And that's pretty much it for this episode of SeetherTalks for today. If you enjoyed this video and want to further help out my channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon, hitting that like button, turning on that notification bell, and subscribing all together. I've been SeetherCord, and I will see you guys next time. So, goodbye, everyone.
I won't hurt you. 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 My pale blue star, my rainbow, how good it is to know you're like me.
When you close the fridge door, does the little light stay on?